All right. Factoring polynomials, a difference of squares. What's a square? Don't tell me that. Like, as far as numbers go, what's the square of 9? Don't yell it out. Still don't yell it out. Still don't yell it out. Aha. No cursing in this room, right? Yeah, I didn't say square root. I said square. What is 9 squared? The square of 9 is 81, okay? Square, not square. There's no root here, right? Just square. Okay, so that's what we're doing. But first, okay, what are two numbers that multiply, that's product, to negative 16 and add, that's a sum, to negative 6? And again, if this is like finding it, the better we are with numeracy, i.e. math, okay, elementary type math, yeah, the quicker we get to this. Some people are like just, 5-6 minutes. Okay, practice, 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 like anything in life. Okay, if you don't getting it as well as the person sitting next to you, you need more practice, not less, right? Okay, so what multiplies to negative 16 and 6? Well, first you look at the product. Okay, negative 16. It could be 16 times negative 1, right? What else goes into 16? 8 times 2, but it's got to be negative, so it could be that, or it could be that, okay? Which one of these? Okay, it could be also 16 negative times 1. Is there anything else that goes in 16? 5 and 3 point something? No, we're just looking at integers, okay? That's it. Which one of those add up to negative 6? Yeah, negative 8 and 2. So as a polynomial, how could I write this? Remember, it's got to multiply to the last thing. These numbers add to the middle thing. What's these things again? Any one of these can be written in this form, okay? In general, all the ones we've done so far, A has been 1, right? So we didn't have to worry about this A, but soon it won't be. That'll be next week, right? B, what's B here? Negative 6. What's C? C is negative 16. So how does this help you? Well, when you factor it, those are the two numbers, right? Minus 8 plus 2. And you can check this. If you FOIL this, you get x squared, okay, plus 2x minus 8x, that's minus 6x, and negative 8 times positive 2 is negative 16. Like I said 4 times, let's make it 5. You should never make a mistake factoring, because you can always check it. Okay? It's just like 80% of us are just too darn lazy to do it. Okay? What two numbers multiply to negative 16? Same product here, but add to negative 15. Here they are. Which one adds to negative 15 if I add these? These two? Nope, that's positive 15. These? I already did that. That's negative 6. Positive 6. Okay? Those add to negative 15, right? Minus 16 plus 1 is negative 15. Okay? Those are your two numbers. Let's do this box first this time. X minus 16 times x plus 1. If you FOIL that, you will get minus 15x minus 16. That's the trinomial. 3 terms, right? Anytime you factor a trinomial, it will factor into 2 binomials. Okay, that's worth saying again. Here's where this lesson's different. What two numbers multiply to negative 16 and add to 0? Was there another combination I missed? Yeah, 4 times 4 is also 16, isn't it? But I got to get negative. One of these has to be negative. Doesn't matter which one because it's the same number. What's 4 minus 4? Yeah. Now let's see what happens with this one. Okay? The last term is minus 16, but what's b? What is the term in front of the x? It's 0. Technically, don't look here yet. Okay? Technically, you can say that's a trinomial, can't you? I have 3 terms, but 0x, 0 times anything is just 0. I don't have to write it. So the argument is, well, doesn't that become a binomial? Sure. Okay. Is it 6 oranges or is it a half a dozen oranges? It's kind of both right. Okay. So don't get all caught up. We're still going to say that's a trinomial. It's a special trinomial because the b term, the x term, is 0. All right? So in factored form, here's your 2 numbers, x plus 4, x minus 4. Let's further analyze this. How else could I name that? Yeah, that's x squared. Is that also the square of x? Sure. What's that the square of? That's 4 squared. That's the square of 4. And what's another word for difference? Subtract. Okay? So that's what we're doing today. This is a difference of 2 squares, or a difference of squares for short. Okay? It's a special factoring because the middle term disappears. All right? So, it's still a trinomial. When you factor a trinomial, it factors into 2 binomials. Okay? And yeah, I know it's only 2 terms, but we're going to call it a trinomial. Okay? What 2 numbers multiply to negative 64 and add to 0? Is 64 a perfect square? What number squared is 64? That's your clue. Okay? So this thing factored is x minus 8, x plus 8. What is the trinomial? X squared plus 0x minus 64. I could also write that without the 0x. X squared minus 64. That's a difference of squares. Okay? What's the square root of 25? Do those 2 numbers multiply to negative 25 and add to 0? Okay, those are your 2 numbers. So, if I factor this, I got x minus, does it matter which one's first? No, let's be different. Let's put the plus first. Okay, and let's check this one. If I FOIL this, I get x squared minus 5x plus 5x. What's minus 5x plus 5x? 0x. Okay? And 5 times 5 is 25. A positive times a negative is a negative. So that's negative 25. Okay, so if I FOIL that, x squared minus 25. Difference of squares. Okay? All right. Factor the following. What does that look like? Does that look like a difference of squares? Yeah. Okay. That's, again, you're going to say, hey, that's not 3 terms. That's not a trinomial. Well, I'm telling you it is. Okay? Throw down 2 sets of brackets. What times what is x squared? You only have one choice. It's got to be x times x. What times what is 9? 3 times 3. Plus, minus, you're done. Okay? On the test, you're going to hope for difference of squares. Okay? As if you see that if you have one, it's easy to factor. Okay? What times what is x squared? What times what is 49? Yeah. Let's go minus plus this time, okay? Let's check this one. FOIL, x times x, x squared. I got 7x outside. Inside, negative 7 times x, minus 7x. Last, negative 7 times positive 7 is minus 49. What happens with my middle terms? What's 7x take away 7x? Do I get the same thing? Yeah, x squared minus 49. Check. Okay, don't have to look at the answer. Check it. What times what is x squared? What times what is 1, Calvin? Yeah. 1 times 1 is 1. Plus minus, you're done. Difference of squares, are you liking them? Not too bad, eh? Okay, let's think about this a different way. What's the square root of a squared? A, right? What times what is a squared? What's the square root of a squared? Remember, this is a perfect square. This is a difference of squares, right? What's the square root of 100? Okay, plus, minus, you're done. Okay, if you FOIL that, you get a squared minus 10a plus 10a, no a's, plus 10 minus 10, they're gone. 10 times negative 10 minus 100. Okay? Is this a perfect square? Is there something multiplied by itself to give us m squared? Is that a perfect square? There's something multiplied by itself to give us n squared? Yeah. Is there a minus sign in between them? That's a difference of squares. M plus n, m minus n. It's factored. Okay? Difference of squares. Difference of squares. Difference of squares. Difference of squares. Okay, I don't know if this is all that helpful. We're not going to worry about that. Okay? Factor. That's what we're doing. What kind of a trinomial is this? Does this look like a special trinomial? Yeah, is this like a broken record here today? Okay. Can I take the square root of a squared? What times what is a squared? A times a. Is 4 a perfect square? What times what is 4? 2 times 2. You want the minus first or last? That's the hard part, right? Do you go plus minus or do you go minus plus? Doesn't matter. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Doesn't matter what order you multiply 2 times 3, right? T squared. Oh, I never saw a question with a t. That's not fair. Is this a perfect square? T times t is t squared. 144. That's like the very top of your multiplication table. You remember what that is? Is that a perfect square? 12 times 12, right? Let's go minus plus this time, just to really change things up. You're crazy, Mr. Watson. I know. Okay, is that a perfect square? Is that a perfect square? Okay, x plus y, x minus y. Okay, this one looks a little different, but not really. Is this the same as this? 7 squared is 49. Okay. I don't care which way you like looking at it. If you don't like it like that, write it like this. P times p is p squared. 7 times 7 is 7 squared, or 49, plus minus. And the middle term will cancel out, because I got 7p minus 7p. No bx term there, right? Okay. Difference of squares. That's what we're doing. Is the title of this sum of squares? No. So be careful. If you get something like this, don't try to factor it like a difference of squares. Okay? Because that, if we FOIL it, minus 3x plus 3x minus 9, these are gone. Okay, that doesn't give you this. Okay, well, let's make them both positive. All right, let's see what happens. Because I got to get positive 9. That's 3 times 3, that's 9. FOIL it, I have 3x and 3x and 9. Oh, but now I have a middle term, don't I? Okay? How do I factor that? Trick question. You don't. You can't. I can't do anything with that. Okay? It has to be a difference of squares. There's nothing here that says difference of squares. That's a title. If there's a plus, you can't factor it. Okay? You'll get a couple like that. All right? They might get a little bit bigger. Is that a perfect square? 4x squared? Can I take the square root of that? Yeah. What's the square root of 4x squared? 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Okay? Still can do it. What's the square root of 25? 5. Okay? Plus, minus. That's okay. That's a difference of squares. So when you see something big and ugly, if it's only two terms, there's a minus in between them, you got to ask yourself, is that a difference of squares? Can I take the square root of that thing? If you can, then it's a perfect square, and it's probably a difference of squares. What's the square root of 9m squared? 3m. Is that a big multi-billion-dollar company in the States? Yeah. Do they make cool things like Post-it notes? Yeah. How relevant is this to what we're doing? Not at all. Let's finish this. What's the square root of 4n squared? 2n plus minus. We're done. Okay? Piece of cake. Factor. Did anybody pull their hair out yesterday when they got to one that wasn't factorable? Alicia did? She still has lots of hair though, so she must not have pulled out too much. Okay, so remember, it might not work. Can I take the square root of 16t squared? What times what is 16t squared? 4t. If that's a little confusing, remember you can split that up, can't you? I can go root 16 times root t squared. That's 4. That's t. 4t. Okay? If that helps, if it's too cluttery, too much stuff there, break it down into chunks. What's the square root of 49? 7. Plus, minus, you're done. Okay? I'm not going to do all these. How about that one? Is 4x squared a perfect square? Yes. Is 25 a perfect square? Yes. So, what's the answer? Who was paying attention? Yeah. If possible, that is not a difference. It's a plus. You can't do anything with that. Okay? Maybe some cases you would be able to take out a greatest common factor, right? Hey, maybe I'll make that a 16. I could factor this, but not into two binomials. This might be on your quiz. I could take a 4 out of here and here, couldn't I? X squared plus 4. There. I factored it. I took out the greatest common factor. Okay? Just because it's not a difference of squares doesn't mean you can't factor it. Okay? But that's all I can do. This isn't a difference of squares. I can't do anything else. All right, let's look at the last one. 64. What's the square root of 64? 8. What's the square root of 9a squared b squared? 3ab times 3ab is 9a squared b squared minus plus. Bob's your uncle. He's your uncle. Okay. Can I take the square root of 2a squared? No. I don't know the square root of 2. It's like 1.41 something something. It's irrational. 2 is not a perfect square. Neither is 50. But if you see two terms and a minus in between them, you got to ask yourself, is that a difference of squares? No. Can I make it a difference of squares? By removing a common factor. What if I take 2 out? Now is it a difference of squares? Yep. Okay, so you're going to get some bigger ones. You should always do this. I'll remind you later, of course, when we get big questions. If you can remove the greatest common factor, do it. It'll make your life easier. Okay? And in this case, if you don't do it, then you can't do anything else. All right? So that's a 2. Put it down there and forget about it. This is a trinomial. I'm going to factor it into 2 sets of brackets. A times a is a squared. 5 times 5 is 25. Plus minus. You're done. Okay? You should check it before you go on to the next one. Let's go on to D. X cubed. We haven't done one of those. But if I take an x out, it'll be an x squared, won't it? Is there something else I can take out of here?
3.
Yeah, what am I asking? I'm asking, what's the greatest common factor between this and that? 3x. Take it out. What do you have left? X squared. Ah, a perfect square. Surprise, surprise. If I take 3x out of 27x, what am I left with? Is that a perfect square? Surprise, surprise. What's the name of this chapter? Difference of squares. That's what I got. Okay, fully factored. So we're not quite done, but before I do this lovely question, I'll give you a quiz, okay? Because this will probably confuse you. Any questions first before we do it? Okay. So hold that thought.